Well, what a twist. In our last video, we questioned whether the Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, was the one behind the push for those controversial sentencing guidelines. But now, it turns out she really wasn't. They were implemented without her knowledge. The real architect behind this policy? None other than David Lammy. Let's break down this shocking revelation and what it means for the future of the UK's justice system. To quickly recap, the Sentencing Council introduced new guidelines suggesting that ethnic and religious minorities should receive different sentencing considerations. Essentially, this could have led to softer sentences for some offenders based purely on their ethnic and sexual backgrounds. Initially, many, including myself, thought Shabana Mahmood had endorsed this, but new information shows that the real influence came from a report written by David Lammy back in 2017. According to the Times of London, this policy was rooted in Lammy's recommendations, which claimed that the justice system is inherently biased against ethnic minorities. His solution: giving judges more context about minority offenders through pre-sentence reports that critics say would have led to an unequal two-tier system of justice. Now, let's talk about accountability. Shabana Mahmood, to her credit, has expressed outrage at these guidelines and is pushing for their immediate reversal. But she must have known before. Why did she not act before the news got publicised? Her own Ministry of Justice representative was present when this policy was approved in January. Was she really left in the dark? Or is this damage control after a public backlash? And then there's David Lammy, whose fingerprints are all over this. His 2017 review was used to justify these sentencing guidelines, despite the fact that it never established direct evidence of discrimination in sentencing. Instead, it just assumed sweeping claims about systematic bias and recommended changes that ultimately led to the mess that we're in now. Meanwhile, the Tories are acting a little bit like opposition, and Tory members like Robert Jenrick and the Tory leader Kemi Badenoch are being a bit vocal about this. Jenrick has launched legal proceedings against the guidance, arguing that it discriminates against white, male and Christian heterosexual offenders. Badenoch is pushing to amend the Crime and Policing Bill to ensure nothing like this happens again. The Sentencing Council, chaired by Lord Justice William Davis, insists that these guidelines were based on research. But even magistrates warned them this was biased and dangerous. They ignored those warnings and pushed forward anyway. The question is why, and who else in government knew about it but stayed silent? Thank God public reaction has been fierce and it made an impact. This is why I always say, don't be a silent majority. The idea that justice should be blind is fundamental to our legal system. Yet this guidance threatened to undermine that very principle. And all of this stems from a report by David Lammy. He was the one that pushed an unproven narrative of systematic racism to justify giving different treatment to certain offenders. So what happens next? Shabana Mahmood has demanded an urgent meeting to scrap this nonsense immediately. Good. If the Sentencing Council refuses, she says she'll force changes through new legislation. Good again. Meanwhile, Jenrick's legal challenge and the Conservative push to amend the Crime and Policing Bill could permanently shut down any future attempts at this kind of social engineering in sentencing. Good again. And what do you think? Is David Lammy's influence in the justice system causing more harm than good? Should the Sentencing Council be stripped of its powers? Let us know in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.